In this video, we are watching about new 2024 Lamborghini facelift and review. Please don't forget like and subscribe the Car Art channel for more videos. Thanks.
Think of the all-new Lamborghini Revuelto as a combination of style stretching back decades. It blends the big-nosed Murcielago with the hips of a Diablo. The scissor doors and wedge shape come from the Countach. There are plenty of nods to the past, but unlike any bull before it, the Revuelto is a plug-in hybrid. Its mid-mounted V12 gets help from 3 electric motors, 2 on the front axle and another one mounted to an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission in the rear, for a total output of 1,001 horsepower. While this may cause some purists to wail, Lamborghini promises that additional electrification only enhances the supercar experience. 2024 is the inaugural year of the all-new Lamborghini Revuelto plug-in hybrid. The price of the 2024 Lamborghini Revuelto starts at $608,358. Better start saving your pennies now, because if you're in the market for Lambo's brand new 1,001 horsepower PHEV, it ain't coming cheap. Maybe you have some art you can sell. This bull is no ballerina when it comes to performance. The mid-mounted 814 horsepower 6.5-liter V12 is naturally aspirated and screams up to a 9,500 RPM redline. Of the 3 electric motors integrated into the powertrain, 2 drive the front wheels, while the third is integrated into the 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission and assists the V12 gas engine on the rear axle. The total output of this powertrain is 1,001 horsepower, the most of any Lamborghini ever. That's also the most horsepower from any plug-in hybrid, knocking the 986 horsepower Ferrari SF90 Stradale from the top spot. We haven't tested a Revuelto yet, but after our first test drive, we estimate it will reach 60 miles per hour in just 2.3 seconds and reach a top speed of 218 miles per hour. From behind the wheel, the Revuelto's acceleration feels intense, with the electric motors giving an instant surge of power off the line and the V12 howling as you explore the depths of its power band. Handling is sharper and more agile than in the outgoing Aventador. The Revuelto benefits from a rear-wheel steering system and a torque vectoring system which gives it more stability in corners and makes it easier to nip apexes. When we get a chance to test the Revuelto on our home turf, we'll update this story with more driving impressions and test results. The Revuelto is a plug-in hybrid, but not in the traditional sense of the term. This is no Prius prime competitor, out to hypermile its way from point A to point B. Its 3.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack, nestled in the space between the 2 bucket seats, provides just enough juice to power the Revuelto for about 5 miles on electric power alone. That's enough to slip away unnoticed from your neighborhood should you need to leave early on a Saturday morning without waking the neighbors. But not enough to avoid using gasoline entirely. The Revuelto is a performance hybrid instead, using the electricity in its battery, and the 3 electric motors it powers, to add a bolt of lightning to the powertrain's output. The Revuelto is a plug-in hybrid, but not in the traditional sense of the term. This is no Prius prime competitor, out to hypermile its way from point A to point B. Its 3.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack, nestled in the space between the 2 bucket seats, provides just enough juice to power the Revuelto for about 5 miles on electric power alone. That's enough to slip away unnoticed from your neighborhood should you need to leave early on a Saturday morning without waking the neighbors. But not enough to avoid using gasoline entirely. The Revuelto is a performance hybrid instead, using the electricity in its battery, and the 3 electric motors it powers, to add a bolt of lightning to the powertrain's output. The EPA hasn't released official fuel economy estimates for the Revuelto yet, but despite its plug-in hybrid status, we're not expecting those numbers to be very high. Expect to see something like 9 miles per gallon city and 16 miles per gallon highway. When we get a chance, we'll take the Revuelto on our 75 miles per hour highway fuel economy test route to get a feel for its real-world fuel economy. For more information about the Revuelto's fuel economy, visit the EPA's website. There are only 2 seats in the Revuelto because, well, the Italians put 12 cylinders where the back seats would normally go. The Revuelto is no ordinary car. Its cockpit is more space race than automobile. There are 4 rotors on the steering wheel that control drive modes, and additional buttons activate the turn signals as well as initiate the launch control. Lamborghini says the Revuelto has more headroom and legroom than the Aventador, which shouldn't be difficult. There's space behind the seats to fit a single golf bag as well, frunk space that can easily accommodate 2 carry-on luggage bags. The Revuelto is unlike other Lambos in that much of its interface is digital. An 8.4-inch infotainment touchscreen handles much of the vehicle's controls, including climate functions, but there's also a 9.1-inch screen on the passenger side dash that shows everything possible to encourage motion sickness, such as speed, drive gear, and torque distribution. A third 12.3-inch display handles gauge cluster duties. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard. Compared to other modern cars, the Revuelto doesn't offer many driver assistance features. But it's the first Lamborghini sports car to really offer any at all. For more information about the Revuelto's crash test results, visit the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, and Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, IIHS, websites. Key safety features include, compared with most mainstream automakers, Lamborghini doesn't provide stellar warranty coverage. But its protection plans are competitive with those of high-end rivals such as Ferrari and can be enhanced by optional maintenance packages. The 2028 Lamborghini Lanzador looks to take the exotic carmaker into the EV era. The wild-looking Lanzador concept previews the company's future efforts to transition to electric power. This high-ground clearance coupe looks ready to tear up a rally stage, and Lamborghini says its 2 electric motors will pump out more than a megawatt of power. That's over 1341 horsepower for anyone who has never heard of a megawatt before. While the Lanzador concept retains Lamborghini's signature mid-engine proportions, the fact that it doesn't have a massive turbocharged V10 behind the front seats like the Huracan means there's room left over for a pair of rear chairs and a surprisingly voluminous cargo area. The interior design looks like it's modeled after a fighter jet, with a flat-bottom steering wheel, a high center console that connects to the top of the dashboard, and separate digital readouts for both the driver and the front seat passenger. We'd say this all-terrain rocket looks production ready, and we'd love to see it hit the road soon. Sadly, Lamborghini says the production car won't be ready until 2028. The Lanzador will be a new nameplate for the Lamborghini lineup as well as being the brand's first battery electric offering when it goes on sale, likely as a 2028 model. Pricing and which one to buy. The price of the 2028 Lamborghini Lanzador is expected to start around $300. Lamborghini hasn't released pricing for the Lanzador yet, and we expect to see it spawn several variants, including possibly a convertible. When we find out more info closer to the car's launch, we'll update this story with details. Lamborghini hasn't released official horsepower ratings for the electric Lanzador, but it has said that all-wheel drive will be standard and that the car will feature 2 electric motors, one on each axle, with a peak horsepower of over 1 megawatt. If our calculations are correct, that would give the Lanzador over 1341 horsepower, could you imagine? Furthermore, Lamborghini says the electric motor mounted on the rear axle can act like a simulated limited-slip differential to aid handling while cornering. The concept car was shown as a high-riding pseudo-off-roader, but that could change as the Lanzador approaches production. Or it could remain a higher-riding vehicle and target rivals such as the Porsche 911 Dakar. The Lanzador concept car has a 2-door body, but it includes seating for 4, with 2 bucket seats in the second row. The interior looks upscale but still very Lambo-esque, with a flat-bottom steering wheel, a floating center console that sits high between the driver and passenger, and sports seats with embroidered logos. A generously sized, for a hypercar, cargo area in the back can be expanded with the rear seats folded down. There's also a front trunk, which is typical of both EVs and Lamborghini's other mid-engine gas-powered models. Don't expect the typical center-mounted infotainment screen here. Instead, Lamborghini has installed 2 separate displays, one located behind the steering wheel for the driver and the other mounted in front of the passenger. We haven't heard what other infotainment features will be available, and since the Lanzador's production date is so far out, in-car technology could evolve past where it is today. We still expect to see features such as Apple CarPlay and Android Auto,